First, here to explain the decision is the man himself, Senator Rand Paul. Senator, welcome back.
Good to be with you, Sean.
It's pretty simple to me that this was something that from the very beginning, conservatives who had been against any plan for legalization or green cards, like yourself, would have changed your mind if we secured the border first. Why didn't they listen?
You know, I've told them from the very beginning I was open to immigration reform as long as it was dependent on securing the border first. And I was very explicit about this, but apparently nobody listened or cared. I also thought it was important that when we determine whether the border is secure, that Congress should determine this, not the president. I don't have a lot of trust left over for the current president, but I really don't trust any president to make this decision. I think Congress, the representatives of the people, should determine whether the border is secure.
Yeah, I was a little surprised, page 35, line 24, that Napolitano has veto power. The power to veto the border fence and where to put it in the immigration bill. That was a little surprising to me, too.
Well, the irony is they threw in $1.5 billion for some kind of youth jobs program. That's as much as they were going to spend on the fence. But then they also threw in a veto for Janet Napolitano to be able to veto the fence if she thinks the border's secure. That's the problem with leaving it up to the president. The president thinks the border's secure now. So I don't have a great deal of hope that she won't just veto the fence.
You deal with your colleagues every day. Don't they believe that America has the right to sovereign borders? What do they tell you?
I think many are running scared and want to just pass something. It doesn't matter exactly what is in the bill. They want to be in favor of immigration reform. And I'm in favor of it, but the details are important. I try to read the bills. It's 1,200 pages. We got it on Monday. We worked our way through it as quickly as we can. But the thing is that I think for some it's the symbolism of this, and they're not too concerned whether we allow veto over the fence or whether we throw $1.5 billion in there for a jobs program.
Yeah, I always expected that the House would only do border security, but my sources in Washington tonight are telling me that the leading bill that is being discussed in the House of Representatives is a bill that would give a 5-year temporary legal status to illegal immigrants, and then if the border is not secure, it would be revoked. Are you hearing the same thing?
I'm hearing a little bit of that, and I'm hoping that's not the plan, because I think once you give status, it's never coming back. So that's why my amendment secured the border, you vote on it. When it's secure, then you begin gradually normalizing the people, but you still get more votes. Each year you get another vote. And I spoke to one of the leading conservatives on the Judiciary Committee in the House today, and he said he was interested in my idea. I'm continuing to talk to conservatives in the House with the hope that they will vote for Congress to decide when the border is secure, and that they won't start the process until we've had at least a year to do securing the border.
Well, my fear is that they will pass border security first. I always assumed they would. Now I have some doubt, and that you'd go to conference, and then at a conference, the Senate bill would tend to win. And then what does Speaker Boehner do at that point? Do you have any idea? Have you spoken to him?
Well, you know, I was pleased to hear his comments earlier in the week when the Speaker said that he is not going to pass something unless a majority of Republicans are for it. The chance that we get the Senate bill, the only chance the Senate bill could pass in the House is if it passes with 30 or 40 Republicans and 180 Democrats. If Speaker Boehner is going to hold to his word and say it has to have a majority of Republicans, I think we'll get a better bill. But what I'm hoping they will say is, let's do this stepwise. We can call it comprehensive, but let's have triggers in there that really make it a stepwise bill where border security is actually first, and then legalization comes after we vote that the border is secure.
What did you think of the president's speech today when he said he would sidestep Congress to implement his global warming initiative through executive fiat?
You know, I think he has a pattern of this, and this is one reason why a lot of us in the country are worried about which way and which direction he's taking the country. I don't like the idea of unelected bureaucrats writing law and making law. If he tries to do this, we will have a vote in the Senate. We have something called the Congressional Review Act And if he writes a regulation or tries to have a new carbon tax without us voting on it, we will force a vote on it. But the question is, can we defeat him, or will the Democrats stay lockstep behind him? And that's what they've done in the past. One
of the saddest things is we're watching this whole Edward Snowden fiasco unfold, and Vladimir Putin basically thumbing his nose and his thumb in the eye of America. Is the Wall Street Journal writes today that America is impotent. Do you think they view us as weak, our enemies?
You know, I think it's hard to tell. I think that there's a great deal of sympathy around the world for privacy on the internet. In fact, I hear from some of the internet service providers and the search engine people that their trouble really isn't with anger in America right now. Their trouble is with anger in Europe. People really upset about their privacy being invaded. And so I think there's a lot of sympathy out there, maybe not necessarily for the idea of who the leaker is, but for the concept of privacy. I think there's a lot of sympathy around the world for that.
Let me ask you, there was a Pew poll that came out when you look at the scandals and all the issues that we're discussing, and gun control, immigration, and global warming are at the lowest level in terms of people's priorities. But the most frequent words now used, according to Pew, to describe President Obama are incompetent and liar. What is that? What's your take on that? And what should the president take out of that?
Well, you know, I think the constellation of scandals are adding up and they're multiplying. And I really think that they're sapping his moral authority to lead the nation. You don't need just the legal authority to be president. You have to have some moral authority. You have to have people supporting what you're doing. And I think people are concerned, particularly even his constituency. He won like 60-70% of the youth vote. The young people of this country wanted privacy, and they thought he'd be their champion. And then it turns out that he's looking at, or having the NSA look at 1 billion phone records every day. So I think people don't like that kind of hypocrisy, and so I think it is damaging him, and I don't think he's going to be able to get much done in the last 4 years unless he really cleans house and says, I'm not going to tolerate my people lying to Congress. I'm not going to tolerate IRS agents targeting conservatives or Christians. So unless he does that, though, I think he's really lost ground.
All right, Senator Rand Paul, good to see you. Thanks for being with us.